Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barito. Let's take a look at the headlines. Constitutional Consultation Reform Forums return with government reviewing its draft report. The Ministry of the Attorney General launches a sex education and HIV/AIDS awareness initiative. And Ministers of Foreign Affairs and National Security hold talks with CARICOM officials for training of immigration and customs officers. Thank you for joining us. Citizens are one step closer to shaping a new constitution for the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. This comes as the government made good on its promise to return to the public to present the contributions received during the first leg of consultations on constitutional reform.
Citizens will have another important say in the next constitution to govern Trinidad and Tobago as the Ministry of Legal Affairs launched its second leg of the national consultation on constitutional reform. This is in keeping with the government's promise to return to the people before drafting any amendments to the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago. The first of 4 public consultations on constitutional reform took place on Monday at the UE Sport and Physical Education Center. The sessions are being held to hear the public's opinions on the recommendations contained in the draft report prepared and published by the Commission. According to the Minister of Legal Affairs, the Honorable Prakash Ramada, the draft report is the result of careful analysis of the hundreds of submissions received by the Commission during the public consultations on constitutional reform held last year.
Today is very special because for the first time we have such a process where consultations had gone throughout the nation, in Trinidad and in Tobago, getting the undiluted views of the population as to the content of the next constitution. Having received these many contributions, the commissioners sat and assimilated and collated a document, which is the report that I imagine that you will all have had a sight of, and to which Errol has spoken. I want to put on record my gratitude to the Prime Minister and the Cabinet for having allowed this second level of consultation, because it was not envisaged when we began that we'd have a second set. But as we had gone through the country, it was asked of us that before you go to legislative change, to please report to the nation as to what the considerations and the recommendations would be.
Minister Ramadar said the process would now see a focus on the published report, and he assured that the contents of the report were not the personal views of the commissioners, but rather a representation of the citizens who contributed at the 17 consultations that were held.
So as we go forward, I ask for what we always ask for, respectful views to be expressed in a concise manner. And I've seen there's been a lot of criticism from persons, and we accept that, but I ask this evening that we move from critic to contributor. This is the opportunity. If you find anything wrong with the document, with some of the recommendations, this is that opportunity to put forward succinct arguments as to why it should be different or how better we can proceed. Because as we indicated from the very beginning, we are still one nation, one people working to get the best document we can to form the next constitution for this nation.
The draft report was widely distributed via the 3 daily newspapers as well as on the Commission's website, www.reformtheconstitution.com. The Commission is hopeful that the document would be read and digested, and that stakeholders would now come forward to share their views on the recommendations contained therein. The public consultations will continue from 5 p.m. on Wednesday, February 13th at the Chaguanas Regional Corporation, then on Monday, February 17th at Signal Hill Secondary School, Tobago, and then come to an end on Wednesday, February 19th at Paria Suites Hotel and Conference Center, San Fernando. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
In other news, a sex education and HIV/AIDS awareness initiative themed Live Your Life, Play Safe was launched by the Attorney General, the Honorable Anand Ram Logan. The call was made in the midst of the carnival season, urging citizens to practice responsible sexual behavior.
The campaign aims to target the young people who enjoy the fat and revelry of carnival to sensitize them to the need to take necessary precautions and practice safe sex so that they can be the happiest men and women alive. The sidewalk event was hosted by the HIV/AIDS unit, joined by the AG and local celebrities Ravi B, Brent Sancho and Samuel Badri at the ministry. Addressing the gathering, the AG made a call for sexual health among citizens, especially during the lead-up of Carnival.
As you know, it is a time for revelry, celebration, fete, wine and jam. But in the midst of the fete, wine and jam, when human bodies come into contact, we want to make sure that they remain alive so that they can be the happiest man and woman alive after the Carnival.
The AG says they are sending a strong message to all, and while he is encouraging persons to play hard, he underscores safety first.
We would like you to live after the Carnival so that we will not have the kind of pressure on the public healthcare institutions that we have that come after the Carnival. We want to prevent the baby booms from coming. We want to make sure that people make responsible choices, conscious decisions, and do the right thing.
Former national footballer Brent Sancho also echoed similar sentiments. He said this initiative will go a long way and suggested that more sessions be conducted even after the Carnival season is over.
I would like to commend the AG and the rest of the office for putting together such a very good campaign at an excellent time, particularly during Carnival. And I would like to say as well to the AG and the rest of the office that we could continue with such a drive after the Carnival, because I know most people will still be having sex after Carnival. So we want to make sure that they continue to protect themselves and make the wise choices, as the slogan says. Live your life, but play safe.
Members of staff and members of the public were invited to partake in the short lectures on HIV and AIDS awareness, general sex education and safe sex measures in time for the Carnival season. The theme for the campaign, Live Your Life, Play Safe, is drawn on soca star Machel Montano's hit, Happiest Man Alive. The ministry hopes to convey the message that safe sex is a precondition to living a healthy, happy life. Joseph Lopez, News 4.
When we come back, from red tape to red carpet, stay with us. The CARICOM Secretary General Erwin Larocque and his team met in Port of Spain with this country's Ministers of Foreign Affairs and National Security to discuss training of immigration and customs officers to deal with CARICOM nationals from member states visiting their respective countries.
The Honourable Winston Ducaran, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and sent to the Honourable Gary Griffith, Minister of National Security, met with CARICOM's Secretary General, Ambassador Erwin Larocque, and other officials from the Secretariat to discuss the free movement of CARICOM nationals in the context of the ruling of the Caribbean Court of Justice in the case Shanique Myrie and Barbados and Jamaica and other related matters. News 4 has been told that the Trinidad and Tobago side underscored the need for CARICOM nationals to be aware of their rights and responsibilities prior to leaving their country of origin. This was agreed with, hence the Secretariat stating that it will be embarking on a series of public education initiatives in member states. The Secretariat confirmed that it will undertake to assist in conducting training programs for officials from various ministries and government departments, taking into account the implications of the Myrie ruling. Following the case against Barbados, in which Myrie underwent humiliating body cavity search by a Barbadian border official, and her subsequent deportation, the CCJ ruled that Barbados altered its laws to be in harmony with the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, which speaks to the free movement of Caribbean nationals throughout CARICOM. Training for officers will be conducted in Trinidad and Tobago beginning in mid-March. Felicia Wilson-Mon, News 4.
In other news, from red tape to red carpet, this is a new tagline adopted by the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Investment as it leads the charge in breaking down the walls of bureaucracy and rolling out the red carpet service delivery for the business community and investors.
The Ministry of Trade, Industry and Investment's 2014 theme, From Red Tape to Red Carpet, has been established on the proposition that the ministry has evolved from what was once a brick wall to create a portal of efficiency through which business is easily conducted. According to the ministry, what took months to do will now be done in a matter of days, and what took days will now be done in minutes. There are 3 phases to the campaign. Let's show them what we have done is the first phase. The other phases will come on stream periodically. The objective is to educate stakeholders on the advancement of work undertaken by the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Investment. As the campaign unfolds, members of the public, especially the business community, is urged to be on the lookout for further announcements and advertisements highlighting the improvements in various transaction times through the TT BizLink portal. Felicia Wilson-Mon, News 4.
News 4 continues right after the break. Stay with us. A hurdles clinic hosted by the Ministry of Sport in collaboration with the Sport Company of Trinidad and Tobago took place last weekend at the Hazley Crawford Stadium and was facilitated by some world-class talent. News 4 Sports was at the launch, and we have more in this report from Wayne Cunningham.
The Ministry of Sport and the Sport Company of Trinidad and Tobago assembled a world-class field of presenters for their recently concluded hurdles clinic. They included Roger Kingdom, 2-time Olympic gold medalist in the 110-meter high hurdles, and Kevin Young, 1992 Summer Olympian and current world record holder in the 400-meter hurdles, along with our very own Dr. Ian Hippolyte, NACAC Coach of the Year for 2013, and J. Hugh Gordon, world champion gold medalist in the 400-meter hurdles. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Sport, Mr. Ashwin Creed, indicated that the ministry continues to unveil coaching and financial programs to give national athletes an extra edge.
If you do a comparative in the Caribbean and some other countries, only probably with the exception of Canada and Great Britain, you would see that Trinidad really is doing a remarkable job in terms of how we treat its athletes. So if you ask, as a Trinidad, if you ask your colleagues in the Caribbean, how much elite funding you get, you'll be surprised to know what they get. Right? So I think we are doing a good job. The athletes are benefiting. We have seen an inextricable link between the investment in the athlete and performance. And this is since 2004. The athletes no longer have to worry about having to pay the coach or having to pay for nutrition, physiotherapy, massage therapy, etc. Right? And the ministry, again, will continue to support the athlete.
Roger Kingdom was high in praise for the ministry's initiatives.
You know what? I really applaud the Ministry of Sports because one of the things that I've heard in his speech today, and especially after getting an opportunity to meet him, they're very, very passionate about the athletics and watching it grow. They're doing everything that they can, like putting on events like this here, is just to bring the awareness and enlighten all the athletes and the coaches and give them opportunities. Any of the athletes, wherever it is around the world, all they ask for and all they want is an opportunity, and that's what the Ministry of Sports is doing down here, is giving that opportunity.
Dr. Ian Hippolyte is the coach of world champion J. Hugh Gordon, and he indicated that our performances in the hurdles have been noteworthy even before the gold medal.
We've had a very, very good success. I think it culminated in 2013 with J. Hugh Gordon. But we also have some history. We have Josan Lucas, who was a bronze medalist at the 2009 World Championships in Berlin. So that even before J. Hugh made his mark, we had already put ourselves on the map as a country that produces good hurdlers. In the past, we've also had Steve Brown, former U.S. runner, nationalized Trinidadian, who won a silver medal in the Commonwealth Games. And we have performing pretty well on the international circuit, Michael Thomas, and Wayne Davis, who is the reigning NCAA champion over 110 meters hurdles. So we do have some quality hurdlers in the past, or we have had, and we continue to have, and therefore it's a very, very important forum.
A sentiment shared by Kevin Young.
First and foremost, I must take my hat off for Trinidad and Tobago because, and the sports ministry here, because this is the first time Roger and I actually been invited. I mean, I've been a world record holder for almost 22 years, and it hasn't been a sports ministry in the Caribbean that has actually invited me to come and talk to the coaches and the youth, you know. And when I got the opportunity to come, I really shook my head. I was like, "Are you guys serious?" And it's more than needed. And I'm glad that I had this particular invitation. And this is something I definitely want to do constantly, over and over again.
A training partner from the past has the 400-meter hurdles world record holder keeping his eye on TNT Athletics.
Huge shining moments, especially. I think one of the biggest moments was in 2012, the young javelin thrower came out of nowhere and just shocked the world. I think right now that's still resonating on everybody's mind right now. But I actually trained with Otto Bolden when I was in California, going to UCLA, and so I definitely watched his development as a young sprinter to what he became as a very fast human being on this planet. And also the development in Jehu Gordon, over the years, just kind of keeping my tabs on the young hurdlers. That's my expertise, and I always love it when I see the development of young runners like himself.
Roger Kingdom had a message for aspiring athletes.
One of the messages that I would send to the young kids is just never give up. Always be inspired and hold on to your dreams, because dreams do come true. You're only going to get out of what you put into it. I grew up on a farm, and I'm living proof that with the hard work that I put in, I ended up a 2-time Olympic champion. So you can achieve the same success if you just put forth the effort and believe in yourself and chase your dream.
Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
Thank you very much, Wayne. News 4 continues right after the break. Thank you for staying with us. The government has aided significantly in the realization of the Naipaul House being converted into a museum and international study center. The heritage site is expected to receive an influx of local and foreign scholars interested in the work of the Naipauls.
In 2002, the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago granted the NGO Friends of Mr. Biswas a 99-year lease to develop the house of renowned writer and journalist Sipasad Naipaul along the lines of specific aims and objectives. 12 years later, the house, located at 26 Naipaul Street, St. James, Port of Spain, has been officially launched as the Naipaul House Museum and International Study Center. It was in 1996 that the then government purchased the family home of Sipasad and Drupati Naipaul as a heritage building. The house was made famous in V.S. Naipaul's novel A House for Mr. Biswas, and it was here where Sipasad Naipaul lived from 1946 till his death in 1953, as well as the house where V.S. Naipaul lived from 1946 till 1950 when he departed for Oxford. It was also the place where Shiva Naipaul, another writer's son of Sipasad, grew up.
When Mr. Biswas dies, friends and family come to pay their respects. Downstairs, the doors of the house were open. The furniture was pushed to the walls. All that day and evening, well-dressed mourners, men, women, and children passed through the house. The polished floor became scratched and dusty. The staircase shivered continually. The top floor resounded with a steady shuffle, and the house did not fall. This is from A House for Mr. Biswas. During our watch, the house shall not fall. And it will not fall because it will be the center from which we seek to nurture literature and the literary arts in Trinidad and Tobago.
Minister of Planning and Sustainable Development, Senator the Honorable Dr. Bahindranath Tiwari, in his capacity as patron of the Friends of Mr. Biswas, underscored the importance of the family that once occupied the house.
I think that when you put the Naipaul Capildeo clan, so to speak, in context, in terms of human capital, intellectual capital, imaginative capital, they have really given a lot to this country, and this needs to be acknowledged. And through this country, they have given a lot to the world.
The feature address was delivered by Minister of National Diversity and Social Integration, the Honorable Roger Samuel, at Monday's formal opening.
The Naipaul House is about heritage and legacy. Legacy from father to children, legacy of creativity, legacy of potential and wanting better for children and for future generations. And sometimes we forget how truly blessed we are as a nation, how rich we are, our colorful history, our resurgence against oppression, and our ongoing struggles for freedom.
By 2010, the house was completely renovated, retaining the original shape and appearance. There are 2 apartments to be rented to visiting scholars working on any aspect of Trinidad and Tobago culture. The ground floor is air-conditioned and the house has been fitted with a security alarm system. Also on the ground floor, the living room is being recreated exactly as it was when Sir V.S. Naipaul lived there, with a museum dedicated in the first instance to writers from the Naipaul and Capildeo families. The Friends of Mr. Biswas is now actively collecting memorabilia and documents for the museum and recreating the garden as it was in the time of Sipasat Naipaul. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barito. Thank you for joining us.